you guys, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel, and this time it's another book of the week, and that is Splintered by A.G. Howard. Now, if you guys don't follow me or have never seen one of my book of the weeks, it's essentially me going over my thoughts about this book as I am in the middle of reading it. Now, I have since finished this book because this video is going up a little later than I would have liked. However, my thoughts on this have remained the same, and my review should be up probably... I don't know when. I've been really bad about uploading my reviews. But it should be up by at least the end of April, if you are that. But if you want to see more of my thoughts on what I thought about this book, let's just get into it. And also, since this is a book of the week and not a review, these guys are filled with spoilers. So if you have never read Splintered by A.G. Howard before and would like to, this is probably not the situation for you to go ahead and read, because I do talk about certain aspects of the book that I wouldn't otherwise talk about in an actual review, or in a review or my wrap-up. So if you are looking for more of my generalized thoughts, I would suggest to wait until the end of the month for my wrap-up, or keep an eye out on Goodreads when I upload that review. So if you guys don't know, Splintered by A.G. Howard is a kind of retelling, though from my understanding of it, it's more of a reimagining of Alice in Wonderland. Here we follow Alyssa Gardner, and throughout her entire life has always heard the thoughts of bugs that she has kind of created her art around to get them to shut up. And she knows that because of this, she will end up in kind of a mental ward the same way that her mother has after several years of her losing it. And what they don't know is that she is related a long time ago to the original Alice in Wonderland, Alice Liddell, who is not a fictional character but had told her stories to Lewis Carroll that has created this entire world-selling book. Now, as her mother continues to lose kind of her mind and lose herself to her mental illness, she finds out that Alice's stories in Wonderland are actually pretty much true, just not entirely accurate, is the best way that I can put it. So, in order to save both her and her mother's minds, I guess is the best way to put it, she must dive back into Wonderland and see what this curse is about that has caused them and other women in their families to kind of lose themselves to this curse. Now, for my thoughts so far, I had high hopes going into this. I looked up some reviews on it just to see, and it's not so much a retelling as it is a darker reimagining of Alice in Wonderland, and it's not close to Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland at all. It's closer to Through the Looking Glass, and that is from reviews and from my own personal experience with reading both Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass. Like I said, had high hopes for this. I like darker retellings or reimaginings of fairy tales or children's lit that we get to read, but I don't know. I'm not comfortable with characters using like Alyssa doesn't like the fact that she looks so much like her mother, so in a way to kind of fight against that, she wears dreads. Like, she has like dread extensions, I guess, that she has put in, and it's a way for her to not look like her mother. And I don't know, I'm just not like, there are other ways, you sad little emo girl who is struggling through things but doesn't want to really cope with it, for you to go ahead and look different from your mother than putting dreads in your hair. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. And it's very like, you can just dye your hair a different color, chop it short, straighten it. I don't care. Just don't use dreads. I also think that this kind of is a bit closer to the video game Alice Madness Returns, which is interesting to say because this is a lot darker, but somehow I prefer that reimagining a bit more, like the video game reimagining a bit more, because I feel like this is trying to be really close to the original like text, but not, kind of like an uncanny valley situation. And while it is enjoyable, it's still just kind of like Jeb, one of the love interests in the book, honestly gets on my nerves. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I think he is controlling, he is borderline abusive, he is kind of manipulative in a lot of cases, and I don't know if I can, like, it's just like Alyssa's like, yeah, I'm gonna choose him no matter what, and it's like, but he's literally telling you to go against everything to try and save your mother because you're in danger. And like, I understand that, but he's not very open to the idea of what you were doing in the first place. And let's not forget about the fact that he like openly lied to her about why he didn't want her to go to London with her, because he was going with Taylor, his girlfriend, and that he openly lied about his feelings toward her and really only acted upon it the night she was going to leave for Wonderland and like broke up with his girlfriend on prom. That's shitty. And then followed her into here and then kissed her because it was like, oh yeah, it's just like, you kind of shitty, Jeb, and I don't like you. And I never will, and I was very happy when you got into that box and could never get out. But somehow Alyssa still managed to ruin that too. The love triangle to me also seemed to come out of nowhere. It's between Alyssa, Morpheus, and Jeb, and I saw the connections between them and like how that could work. But I feel like Alyssa and Morpheus hadn't seen each other in years. And all of a sudden, Alyssa's like, well, why am I so jealous that he has feelings for this girl when I haven't talked to him? And I'm over here with my tongue down someone else's throat. And it was just a very quick kind of development for a love triangle, which I'm not a fan of. I have a love-hate relationship with love triangles. If you can do a triangle well, I will root for it until the end of time. But if you can't, then don't do it. I think the only things that I am seeing as a shining moment and reasons for me to continue reading with the series is one, that is a darker retelling or reimagining. I like that, even though Alice in Wonderland is fairly dark on its own. This is a lot darker and kind of a lot, not gorier per se, but it's definitely not like what we saw in Alice in Wonderland. It's definitely a mix of Tim Burton's retelling of it. But I still feel like it's still a little too close to that retelling and Wonderland, and I would have liked to have seen some distinction between the two. What are you going to do about it? I also think that the shining star of this book is Morpheus, who is he was the caterpillar, and he becomes this human and transforms into a moth and still has his hookah pipe. But I enjoyed his character. I thought he was very complex, and there were a lot of things about him that were always kept under the rug and very hidden even from those he loves dearly. And I like the fact that we kind of did not see that until the very end of the reveal. But throughout this, he was still a very loyal person. He was still very complex, albeit kind of shitty. But I enjoyed his character, and I wish we saw more of him. But I'm hoping we see more of him in the sequel, which I will be picking up because I want to see what happens to Morpheus. I don't care what happens to Alyssa. I think that whatever her choices may be, I will continue to read through them as fine, but I just want to know what happens to Morpheus. But that is it for my book of the week. I like doing these, guys, because either me rambling about how much I love the book or talking about the parts that I didn't like about the book as I'm reading through and whatnot. It's not nearly as structured as a review, so I enjoy them quite a lot. So if you guys have any recommendations for me to read to do a book of the week on, I do have my TBRs and my hauls, so you can go ahead and keep an eye out for those, as well as kind of everywhere else that I put out on social media as to what I'm reading. But until next time, I'll talk to you guys everywhere else. My social media links will be down below, and subscribe. I upload twice a week. But until then, I hope you guys have had a great week or are having a great week, and I'll talk to you guys everywhere else. Bye.